we're streaming live. So it looks like we are officially live. Welcome to this week's Cosmic Conversation. I am Stacy Harder with my mother, Dr. Heather Harder, and we meet here every Thursday. If this is your first time, welcome. We will be on YouTube as well as Instagram, or you can join us live on Zoom. Our Zoom, for those of you that are new, is 428-733-218, and you're welcome to join us on Zoom. We do really enjoy having the connection, and to be able, if we do spirit sprinkles, then you have to be on Zoom for that. Well, we started this probably many years ago in our living room. I'll say over 30 some years ago. And then our bookstore, we would have a gathering and we would have all these conversations. So this is a place for you to come ask pretty much whatever you want. We cover it all depending and based off of the engagement and the questions or what we're being led to share for the week. So that being said, thank you for being on this planet, and you are not alone in this journey. And above all, I spread my love and gratitude to you wherever you are in this earth plane. And if you are able to go through this with this consciousness and seeing everything that's going on, I salute you, because it's what we came to do. So having the tribe and having this community for me and being able to connect with the soul family is everything. And I am grateful for that. So thank you. That being said, welcome. For those that are just joining on live, I'm going to let my mom take over so I can do my techie stuff.
Welcome. As Stacy said, we've been meeting in one form or another for probably 25 years, but the technology keeps changing, and so we keep growing and evolving. And then with the COVID experience, it caused us to go online. So now we're blessed to have people from all over the world who join us via Zoom and Instagram and YouTube. And so it's even more of a fun experience. Lots of things going on. Energy is very intense, and will get more intense. It's really important that you recognize what living consciously means. And that's living with an awareness that every breath you take, every step you take, every word you speak, every thought you think makes a difference. And so you choose intentionally what you want to experience and what you want the consequences of those experiences to be. Living consciously means no more just living randomly or having old behaviors that were just habits. They were just habits. It's now about waking up, being mindful of the importance of everything you do, everything you say, every step you take, every thought that you put out, every action that you may experience makes a difference on this planet. Last week, and if you have a chance, go back and listen to it, because I thought it was really a fun evening. We talked about the experience of one of our participants and the vision she had that was telling her to hold the line. And I think that's profound. Hold the line. And we're being bombarded with negativity, with all kinds of people and beings that can make our blood boil or make you feel hopeless or helpless. And with those experiences, it's really important to recognize they are just manipulations, that you are all powerful, you are all capable, you are much more than you have been led to believe, and this world is much more complicated than we have been told. And so it's time that we wake up to who we are and what's really going on, and all of us hold the line. With that said, this evening has 3 parts. The first part is where we ask for protection, for guidance, and to recognize truth. I certainly want to do my part to share truth, and I think that's true for everybody. But we're humans, and sometimes we get distracted by other people's narrative, and it may come out. And so we want to be able to catch the narrative and recognize what is and isn't truth within those belief systems. And so how you do that doesn't matter. Again, You can think it, you can say it, you can make a poem about it, you can do a visualization about it, you can um, do anything you want. Um, just setting that intention is very important, that we are divinely guided, we are divinely protected, and that we are always recognizing and discerning truth and only truth. And everything else just falls away like water off a duck's back. That's part one. Part two is where we go and play with the light. As light workers, we're here to use the light to make the world a better place through the use of this light, and also to empower our light through this collective light. And so that's the second part. And then once that's done, we go back into the conversation and ask questions and do whatever we feel like doing. That's the random fun part of the evening. So if you will, as we play with the light, just recognize that you are all powerful. Light, love, God all carry the same vibration. Every vibration is a part of the divine force. That divine force is the light. And so we're going to just imagine bathing in that light. Just like you go take a shower and let the water run through your body. Imagine that that's the light. That's an energetic shower that you are participating in. And just like the water that washes away any debris or dirt or anything that's accumulated in your physical body that doesn't serve you, so too does this energetic shower wash away anything that doesn't serve you. We can become contaminated with energy, just like we can be contaminated with dirt and germs and bacteria and all that kind of good stuff. And a good washing makes most of it go away. And that's exactly what we're doing. Just imagine showering this energy. Feel how it feels as that energy hits your body. It doesn't stop on the outer part, it goes deep within, harmonizing, empowering, cleansing, balancing, until you feel ready to step into your center. The center is your place of connection. It is your place of power. Sometimes I refer to it as your happy place. Sometimes your place of center. But when you're centering, you are going into that energetic center, that energetic core where you're connected to all of your divinity. You're connected to all that is. Just imagine being in that center. Imagine a pillar of light that comes from the heavens to you and through you and deep into the core of the earth. This is your refueling station. We now have electric cars where they have to plug in to become recharged. Whether it's for a minute or 5 minutes or 45 minutes, plugging into your center is extremely important. It is your refueling center. Do it when you feel great. Do it when you feel not so great. You can do it as a meditation or as an intention or as a mental daydream. Doesn't matter the circumstances nor the length that you do it. Just have the intention of plugging in. You are here as an ambassador to the divine. And when you are plugged in, you literally are increasing your communication ability with this source, and you're also increasing your productivity through the source. So imagine this light coming to you and through you into the earth. We are connecting physically, spiritually, energetically, heaven to earth. We're here to bring heaven to earth. We're here to anchor the heavenly energies to the earthly energies. The Bible and many historical sources have talked about it differently, but it's the same thing. We are here as the go-between, heaven and earth. So let that energy flow to you and through you. And then imagine taking the controls of this energy, and we're going to send this energy out into the universe, into the atmosphere that surrounds this planet. That atmosphere is extremely important, and so just use your imagination, that powerful source of all intentions. Use your imagination just to fill the atmosphere with love and light. See this radiant blanket surround this planet. The atmosphere is to the earth as our skin is to our body. It's a very important protective layer. And when you break that layer on your body, you know you become vulnerable to infections and to all kinds of things. The same thing is true for the earth. But there are many who are seeing that they have the right to alter the atmosphere, so they put things in it. You know, whether it's Bill Gates and his intention to put this reflective substance into the atmosphere to reflect the sun's energy, whether it's those who are choosing to use chemicals and create those chemtrails or anything else, any way that they may be impeding the productivity and the effectiveness of the atmosphere. I want you just to love them. And anything that has been put into the atmosphere, I want you to use your light just to love it into harmony with the divine. Just like an ice cube melts, I want you to see all of these impurities, all these distractions melting. So only divine will and divine energy can make it through to the planet. And all those who try to distort, manipulate, alter, diminish this protective layer, I want you just to love them as well. Whoever, whatever they are, just love them. You may see them, you may feel them, you may hear them, but just love them. And then increase the energy, turn it up like a garden hose and send it into the earth, filling every cell in, on, and around this planet with love and light. Lots and lots of love and light. Every cell, every atom, every particle, every void on this planet is filled with this light and love. And anyone who has in any way tried to harm or impede the evolution of this earth, I want you just to love them. Love is the only way that we can neutralize the damage being done. Judgment, cursing, blaming, shaming doesn't make a difference. It actually makes their job easier. So to really be the difference, you have to love unconditionally. And then I want you to imagine the collective consciousness, that unifying energy that binds us all into one. Just feed your love and light into this collective oneness. We create the collective consciousness by our individual contributions that combine to the collective, and this collective consciousness affects us. So love it. And love all the contributions that's gone into it and all the people and beings who've contributed to this collective. Just love them. Right now we have lots and lots of strange things happening on the planet. So just love them too. Let love be that first reaction, first response to any and all things happening in the planet, whether you enjoy them or not. When we hear about the first responders, let your love and our love collectively be the first response. Let us be the first responders to anchor love into those situations. This week we've had some very strange going on with fires around the planet. Love them. Imagine your love being a garden hose and just pouring love into all the fires and all the fire starters and all the firefighters and all those who are being affected by the fires. Love the smoke that's a result of the fires. As you love them all, see them all becoming much more gentle, much more kind. This week we've had some lovely experiences with our foreign friends. Our exit from Afghanistan has a lot more in the story than what we're being told, so just love it. Love all those people who were impacted by it, all those people who left, all those people who didn't leave, all the Taliban that is now making headlines. Just love them all. Love the bullets, love the guns. Love the ground, love the sand. Don't you know all this hate and violence affects the earth? So love her. Let the imprint that you're sending out be the one that is remembered by the planet. Love those who are flying people out. Love the planes that are being the carriers. Love the military that's been there for the last 20 years, and love those who are helping with the departures. Love the newspapers and the various media forms that are reporting the stories, whether it's truth or half truth. Just love them all. Just love them all. Know that eventually the truth will be known. And we have to be strong enough and courageous enough and loving enough to hear it. Right now, there's a lot of manipulation of humanity on the planet, whether we're talking about sex slaves or various forms of bondage. Love those who are the bonders and love those who are being bound. Just love them all. We're playing out all kinds of scenarios in order to clean out the energy. Whenever you hear of anything, everyone involved, just love them. Do not judge, hate, or put more energy into them. It only makes the situation worse. Go to love and feel how that love feels as it's leaving your body now and going into the lakes, skies, and the weather patterns. Certainly, Ida has been a big contributor to the news this week. Imagine how stressed the earth has to be to create that big storm. Or imagine those who want to distress the earth creating that big storm. Doesn't make any difference. Our job is just to love the storms, love the path it takes, love the people involved, love the people telling the story, love the people who are creating the story. Just love them. On this planet, there are a lot of influencers, people who do their best to manipulate control, impact the thoughts, the actions, the attitudes, the desires and behaviors of others, from the media to big business to organizations to our politicians. Love them. Just see all the influencers from every venue lined up, and that you literally are bathing them all in love. The more you respond in love to everything on the planet, whether it's the little irritations in your life or the big dramatic events on a planetary scale, the more you can go to love and not feed that energy, the more you are holding the line. Imagine all the latitudes and longitude lines around the planet, and then just feed them light and love. See that like a fire that would burn a fuse. Just see that love and light traveling on these latitudes and these longitudes, so everyone on the planet is surrounded with this love and light. Imagine the ley lines, the meridian lines on the planet, and fill them with love. Imagine in this country, or whatever country you're in, all the people that have been elected to office, and love them. Imagine all the people sitting in courts who are charged with finding justice and truth. Just see all of their robes turn to pure love, so they're always being touched by love. See all the people who are hired by our politicians to do their bidding being filled with love, and every paper they touch being made of love, every word they write coming from love. See all the different strings and bondages and corruption and greed and mind manipulation of any kind that may be attached to any of these people being dissolved with love. Love is the answer. Love is the way. Just love it. And then imagine you in the center of a hub, surrounded by friends and family, by your teachers, not just the ones you like, the ones you don't like so much. They're often the best teachers we have. Imagine all of those people in your world being connected to you, love, and that you send out your gratitude and love to all of them. Imagine the food that you eat being filled with love. Imagine the drinks that you drink being filled with love. Imagine the air that you breathe being filled with love. Your gratitude grows with the awareness that everything is of the divine. Everything has been part of the divine plan and can only be love, including you. So let this love flow through you and to you, filling every cell of your body, every consciousness, every thought, every attitude, every behavior with love. Let love be the motivation for every action you take this week. Let gratitude for all of the experiences that you have being filled with love. Imagine the house or apartment or condo or whatever you live in being made of love. Just see everything in that structure being filled with love. Imagine that everyone who crosses your threshold feeling this love, being transformed with this love. As you walk outside and you see the trees and hear the birds and the flowers and whatever else is growing, see them as expressions of love. Put on this planet to entertain you, to educate you, to reconnect you to Mother Nature and the divine. Feel their spirit into your spirit and feel the love. I'm going to be just quiet for a little bit and let love speak to you. Let love tell you what you need to hear, what you need to know, what you need to experience that will help you move ever closer to your divine potential. You are love. On this planet, in this moment, there are lots of people who are in distress, who are helpless, or hopeless, or sitting before their TV, wondering what's going to happen next. Love them. Of all the germs and all the bacteria and all the viruses on the planet. Love all the first responders, the medical personnel. Love those who are orchestrating much of the drama that's happening on the planet. Your job is just to love everything and everyone, especially yourself. Not in an egomaniac kind of way, but in a balanced, healing, wholeness kind of way. When you're ready, we're going to give permission to the angels to use this collective love that we've created in any way that serves this planet and its people. Share it willingly and openly to all those from any planet that are serving this planet. We have more help, more guidance, more support than you can imagine. We just have to open ourselves to it. But until we do, we just want to be grateful for the divine support we have at every level and love them. So when you're ready, just take a breath. Feel that energy permeate every cell, right down to the DNA, restoring, rejuvenating, recalibrating, rebalancing that DNA so that you are back to the original form that God created you to be, and that you are refueled so that you can move ever closer to your divine potential. In all things, we're grateful. So be it. And as you're ready, just come back to the here and now, sharing your gratitude, your awareness. And when you're ready, just open your eyes to the here and now. And if you'd like to say something, if you'd like to ask something, if you have any awarenesses, if you have anything you want to share, then do so. But do recognize how you feel, the balanced, the serene, loving way you feel. This is the way you were designed to experience life. As you move into stress or chaos, that's something that was created to move back to your true environment. It's just an intention. Think about the 3 words you would describe this energy as right now. You don't have to say it out loud if you don't want, but if you have paper and pencil, I would recommend that you write it down. How would you describe this? The more you can focus in on this energy, the more you can bring it back at will whenever you want.
And I'd say, thank you, Mom. It's always so powerful when, it's not going to my screen. It's weird. It's so powerful when we can come together. Like I can really feel how much deeper we go. And I feel like each time the earth gets so happy. And since last week's call, we talked about hold the line. I found it's kind of a theme, and I've heard several people talk about holding the line. And then last year I was given a visualization that I think it's nice to share, is that I saw like a big circle and we're all holding hands and we're holding space for everybody that's in it. And I saw like a kind of a real deep muddy that you can stay in the mud and stay in the chaos and stay in there. And it's all a choice. But as soon as you realize like, oh, I'm in control of this, then you can step out and join in. But I saw us like all connected and really being that pillar of light together. And inside, not judging people for being asleep, not judging, because at some point we all kind of might have been there, having that compassion, and also seeing it got really ugly, and I don't want to say desolate, but it was still our job to just hold the line and hold the love and light. And that visualization came back to me when we were in that. So if you're just joining in, we do this every Thursday. And it's on YouTube as well. My name is Stacey Harder, and they're powerful to replay, and just even when you want to get back into this place. So thank you. And for those of you that are joining, Dr. Heather Harder is my mother, and She's been writing about this ascension for about 30 years. I do recommend Many Were Called, Few Were Chosen, the story of Earth-based volunteers and why we came to the planet. And I think that it is very evident because this is why we are here and what we've been preparing for. And I think that, and even Jen that's on here as well, and Sammy Davis, Jen's powerful. There's so many powerful people on the planet right now here doing what we came to do, which is shift the consciousness and do it with as much love and light and trueness of who we really are. So,
does anybody else have anything they want to ask or say? You can put it in the chat. You can wiggle your fingers, or you can raise your hand electronically if you're on the Instagram or YouTube. You're welcome just to enter into the chat, and Stacy will represent you in the conversation. So anybody want to say something? You can unmute yourself and just join in. It's pretty informal. Anybody saying anything online, Stace?
well, it always is a delay, so it takes a minute. So not yet, but Sammy Davis did just love, and then Jen's in England, and so she was saying that she's all good. And there's a comment earlier, oh, awesome, with the big blue heart when you are going through the, if you're just getting on, we just did a guided meditation, kind of sending love and light to everything in our planet and ourselves as well. It's really powerful.
Inclusive.
Yeah. Oh, Josie.
Josie raised her hand. So Josie, you need to unmute yourself and then.
All right. I just realized that there still are people that are not awake, and it's so depressing to me.
But because you're judging them.
Yes, that's judging, and I just have to let that go and just love and light, like you said.
Yeah. Right now, there's a lot of 3-year-olds who are not conscious of the significance of their actions, but we certainly wouldn't judge them or condemn them or call them names. And so with that same innocence, people are where they need to be. You know, again, 30 years ago, I started this and had all kinds of spiritual jolts in my life. But in no time did I say everybody else is flawed because they're not where I am. It's recognizing that everyone will awaken at their appointed hour. The analogy I use that if we all had to be at work at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, some people would set the alarm for 5 o'clock in the morning. They would get up, they would do their exercises, they would have their very leisurely cup of coffee, they would shower, they would get dressed, they would maybe meditate. They would have a long ritual that they needed to go through in order to be at work at 9 o'clock. Somebody else may set the alarm for 8:45 and be at work at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, and we wouldn't at all, as long as they were work at 9 o'clock, we'd say, okay, they were fine. It was right for them. We're all waking up as we're supposed to, when we're supposed to. And love is that alarm clock. It's, you know, I needed to wake up a bit earlier than others in order to write the books and have the foundation laid. But if you look at history, there were people way before me that woke up and wrote the books and did the different things that helped support me in my journey. And then I'm here to help others support their journey. And now we're using the term woke as an insult, as if that's a bad thing. So it's, again, we need to stay away from language. We need to stay away from these terms. And certainly we need to stay away from judgment and just recognize everything and everyone is divinely perfect. And our job is to love them. If we don't like what they do, our job is to love them. If we love what they do, our job is to love them. And if we can remember our job, then it doesn't matter whether they're doing their job or not.
And I find myself like loving the animals too, and the plants and the planet, other than just the people.
Yes. Because they're all being impacted by the energy. Just right now, I've got a dog in my lap, which is why I'm sort of leaning back.
Huh?
Hardly ever does this dog come and jump in my lap, but
Uh,
she has been here this entire experience because I'm sure she's just soaking up the energy. But
yeah,
whatever it is, I just love her.
yeah.
It's uncomfortable. It's, to hold this little thing in my arms, but apparently that's what she needs at this moment. And so think in terms of the same way. There are going to be people who come and jump into your arms energetically who need your love and light. And so just love them.
Thank you so much for this. It was wonderful.
Thank you. And
I
so
always
happy that you're back. And
me.
we're sending you we have been sending you lots and lots of love. And for
Yeah.
those who are not aware, we do have a Facebook thread, I don't know what you call them, but Facebook group that if you friend Stacy and I, and then send Stacy your whatever she has to do to put you on the list. It's just where we send out announcements, notices, various updates, and anybody can post to it and just sort of keep everybody informed.
I will verbalize it is a Facebook Messenger, so it's a private group messaging that we do, but there is a lot of topics and videos shared and things that
it came out of our political conversation, but it's evolved into lots of other things. It's now sort of a prayer request. It's, posting what's going on in your world. And so when you post something, it goes to everybody on the thread, but that we all sort of feel like we're connected because we are connected. Yay, Facebook. So if you want to be a part of that, let us know. We only add you if you request it.
I love that people call you mom. I think that's awesome. So Sammy Davis Jr. 760 has asked, Mom, it's a conviction of mine that I love everyone, but I don't have to like everyone. How do you feel about that?
Well, first of all, I'm not asking everybody to like everybody. It's about unconditional love. And so I can be angry at someone and still love them unconditionally. And so by understanding what unconditional love is, it's an energy of acceptance. And that's the best I can do. When I love someone, then I'm literally energetically saying, I accept the way you are, and that's okay. But it doesn't mean that I need to play with you or go to dinner with you or, spend time with you. I can not enjoy being around you, but I can still love you unconditionally. And that's where we're all going. It's not a romantic love. It's not a friendship love. Which now I look back and go, that was really crazy. When I was a senior in high school, I had to do a senior project, senior research paper, and I did it on love and literally identified 4 kinds of love. And I'm doing this heavy duty research, which is still relevant in my life today when I was 18 years old. And so there's lots of different kinds of love. The one we're most familiar with is romantic love. That's not divine love. That's not unconditional love. Divine love is just saying, I accept you the way you are, blemishes and all. And that's where most of us get in trouble with accepting ourselves. I'd love you better if you were smarter, thinner, better nose, better hips. We give ourselves all these conditions. And whenever you add a condition for love, then you have moved out of the realm of unconditional love.
And I would answer your question, Sammy, yes. And then I would also continue too, as I think that as we're really understanding more of the unconditional love and also moving inward with self-love, I think that what you're saying is actually important. And I think a lot of that might be coming through like in boundaries and healthy boundaries. And I can love someone, but I'm also not willing, if you're in like an abusive relationship, for example, like there's certain things that you can love someone, but it doesn't make it acceptable. to have.
I love my ex-husband, but I still divorced him. You know, I gave him the right to be who he was, but it doesn't mean I have to live with that. But I didn't have the right to reject him because of what he was. It was who he was, and I loved him to the day he died. But I didn't have to live with him, although I did choose to take care of him the last few years of his life. But so recognize that unconditional love is without conditions to everyone and everything, but who you put in your circle, who you invite into your world may be very specific.
And if you are new to our group, we love questions, so you're welcome to ask questions. And then going into what you were talking about, Josie, is also imagine if someone was saying, why they can't.
All right, say what Jesse's saying. Don't start in the middle where we don't know what Jesse's saying.
Josie had already talked about of the people who aren't woke. And so imagine also that reverse. If people were upset with you for being woke, which
and they do, they do that.
It's that same paradigm of trying to create separation. And so I would also look at that and ask, why am I mad at them for a place where I was? Or what is this teaching me? What is this showing? Because I would also look at that. There's a mirror for you within that of what are you not accepting about yourself? Because we really have come here, and my feeling is that yes, we are learning love, we're learning compassion, and we're having to deprogram all of our beliefs and old patterns. And I think in the past we have had that. I think that's why we're learning even the trauma response is. I'm reading the book. What is it? What's the book I have? Mom, what's the book? Melody that I ordered for myself and you thought I ordered it for you. What is? Yes, you do. Melody, you said you spoke with her. You're friends with her. Where's the book?
Anyway, going back onto the process, I would suggest that you don't spend a lot of time thinking about those people that you're judging, because that puts more energy into it. Just as soon as you recognize you're not in that loving space, move into the loving space. Remember, whatever you're thinking about, you're empowering it. Wherever your thoughts go, your energies flow. And I didn't make that up, but it certainly is a great realism. And so when you recognize you're not in that unconditional loving space, just immediately go to it. And when you are judging someone, you're separating, you're pulling them apart. When you're loving them, you're bringing them in and increasing the oneness, which is the reason why we're here. We're here to move Earth from a 3-dimensionally based planet to a 5th-dimensional based planet, from separation and duality at 3rd dimension to oneness at 5th dimension. And that's the journey. Yay. And if you look at the book right over my shoulder, that's the story of
magnetic circuit.
Dimensions. What's that voice?
I muted it. I think it was someone's talking to Josie.
Oh.
And the book was Codependent No More. That's the book. And I think that as we are understanding unconditional love more, I think that there is a lot of things that we're moving through. And I think it's important to have the healthiness, the boundaries within you. I believe that we're doing our best to break the old patterns, to break the old things, to really step into what true love looks like. And each of us have different stories around love. Each of us have different experiences, and even our childhood and what we were born into, what we were created. And I think that we are designed to have separate experiences. No two people come in the same. Even my sister and I came in the same parents, but we came in with all different everything, because we are made to have a personal experience. And so I think that allowing
you designed it. That's really important to remember, that everything that's happening to you has been your creation, either prior to coming in or after you're in a result of your thoughts, patterns, and behaviors and words and whatnot. So, why get upset? It's just you're making it. So if you don't like it, make it different.
But going back to her statement,
But love it.
that is the point, is that we're here to experience our own reflection of ourselves through ourselves. So to not honor someone else where they are is actually still coming back to self and not honoring where you are at some level. So someone says,
I don't necessarily agree with that. I think it may be one of the many reasons, but I think that we also do it because if I'm going to be let's say I'm going to be teaching people about drug addictions, then oftentimes street credibility is one of the biggest teachers. And so I may go through being a drug addict just so I have that experience, so I become a better, more passionate teacher. Compassion is often born from our own experiences. So we can set things up to experience things as part of our mission, our lessons. And so, as I said, this earth is very complicated. And so there's lots of different reasons why different things happen, and we just have to trust them. And so rather than get hung up with the challenges, just go back to the love, loving yourself, loving the situation. I've told the story before, but I love this story because it was so unexpected. But as most of you know, I'm absolutely in love with Egypt. And so I was in Egypt in a taxi. And in Egypt, taking a taxi is a lot like riding a very fast roller coaster. And so we're going over this hill. There's 3 lanes on the highway, but there may be 6 cars abreast. There's everybody's honking their horns because they don't use traditional measures to gauge traffic. They listen to horn honks. And so if you're next to someone or behind someone, you have certain toots that means things. So the horns are blaring all the time. And people are driving a zillion miles an hour, and sometimes even on the sidewalk. I mean, it is absolutely insane. I'm now used to it, but when I first went, it was like really harrowing. But anyway, I'm in this taxi. We're going over this hill with maybe 6 lanes of traffic going a zillion miles an hour. And all of a sudden, his car stops dead. And we're now going down. And he was like so joyful. And he goes, Alhamdulillah, which is a celebratory word meaning praise God. It's like, no, not alhamdulillah. This is not a good thing. He goes, oh, yes, it's a very good thing. Now, this is his first response. We're still, in my mind, waiting for the car to careen in the back of us. And he's, yay. And I said, no, this is not a good thing. He goes, oh, yes. He said, we're okay. I'm thinking, we're not off the road yet. We don't know that we're okay. Because it could have happened to someone else and they could have gotten hurt. We're very blessed that it happened to us. And I thought, wow, what a thought. He literally guides this coasting taxi off the road into the sidewalk and gets out. He doesn't even worry about the car. He hails down another taxi, puts me in it, gets in the taxi with me. And what are you doing? I'm going to see that you get to your destination safely. And so he rode with me. His car is completely abandoned off the side of this highway until I get to my destination. He pays for the cab, and then I assume he goes back to his car. But I thought, oh my gosh, I would never seen someone handle a crisis so beautifully. I mean, he really did change my life and my perspective on many things. But it's the mindset that would be thrilled, jubilant that this thing happened to him. So that way he might have saved someone else. And I was amazed. And so you can be in the middle of a crisis and choose to be happy, choose to be grateful, choose to be aware. And that was for me probably the most powerful of the conscious living vignettes that I've experienced. You want to say something? Just unmute yourself, jump in.
Esme just got on. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
There's power in silence.
How many people, those that are on, how many people have been feeling a lot of intensity? Okay, so it's my truth that a lot of us are being extra triggered or extra, a lot of negative emotions, as if we were to call positive and negative, little icky feelings are being pulled out of us, because I think my truth, as we're going through ascension, we have to be cleared out of all of the stuff that's like, I don't say junk mail. Like, you got to clear it out to make room for the higher frequency. And so for those of you, someone super exhausted, yeah, I found the energy's been real intense the last few weeks. And again, I've talked about this, but I just want to share. I'm going to be starting a group coaching call, and there'll be more information posted on Instagram, but I'm being guided to kind of take us through these different levels. And I think that there's a lot going on. And so if you are feeling overwhelmed, if you are feeling a lot of deep sadness or deep emotional things that are being brought up, it is exactly as it's supposed to be, because it's any remnants that you haven't fully moved through. This is the time to love everything. And so part of that class is going to be the tips and techniques and stuff that I've learned through the years. Obviously, Mom's been my mom for over 40 years, and I've been learning a lot about all this stuff, but we're all going through it. I'm getting stuff. So for me, it is important, I find, to kind of use these tips or techniques to really kind of move through it the easiest, with ease and grace, right? Let's get through this. Someone says, how to navigate your ancestral healing with Bridget Nelson. Great. I still have to get into.
Josie recommended the book.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yes, I actually saw her on YouTube with Victor Odo, I think his name is, or see. Yeah, whatever his name is. But I have to go back now and get into the talks about many light workers are going through this ancestral healing, ancestral trauma healing. It's challenging, sometimes confusing, sometimes a lengthy process, but also beautiful and powerful and highly transformative.
Yes.
So,
And
yes.
you can go and dissect it and take it apart like the old frog in biology class in high school, or you
Yeah.
can just love it and let it go. It's
Oh.
what your mind is telling you. You have to go back and take it apart and understand it and recognize it. But it isn't necessary for the neutralizing of it.
Okay.
So just recognize your choices, and your choices are in everything. Rebecca, you look like you were going to say something earlier. Were you going to say something? Okay, she's.
Well, I mean, there's this woman I work with, and she's very, like, she snapped at me again today over something I said. And then I thought, this isn't about me. She's just snapping at me. So I don't know. Is that what you mean by like loving people? Like,
Yes.
not
Just
taking
give her the right to snap at you, and then not maybe in that moment, but you might say, it seems like you're having a bad day. Anything I can do for you? Again, you're not obligated to. You're obligated as a light worker just to love her and give her the right to snap. Sometimes people have these experiences and they just have to let the energy go. So they snap at whatever or whoever is close. Things are not going their way, they snap. But that's why, you have to sort of learn not to take it personally. People are where they are. And the more on the edge they are, the more they snap, the more they get ugly. But it isn't about you, it's about them. And if you can love them, you might want to get out of their way. But if you can love them, you help them move beyond it. And I've got, I could go through tons of experiences in my life where I've experienced that and I've been able to go, okay, let's talk about this. And then they were able to get to what was really going on and had nothing to do with me. So yes, that's a perfect example. And you might, as your own test, begin to send her love. When I was working at the University of Chicago, there was a certain viaduct that sort of told me that I was 10 minutes away from work. And at that point, I started filling my office and filling the hall and filling my department with love and light and filling all the people that I was going to work with love and light. So you might have that place. And then also when I was leaving, that same place is where I literally left all the energy from work behind me. You might have that point where you start sending her love and light, because I guarantee you she's not going through a fun time in her life, but she doesn't have the awareness you do. So you can let her snap and then say, if there's anything I can do to help, just let you know I'm here. And if that doesn't feel comfortable, talk to her higher self. Just say it in your head to her higher self. You don't even need to say it out loud to her.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I found too, that I think we're all learning, I definitely am in the process of learning, is not getting emotionally reactive when someone says something. And so I was in a pretty heated conversation with someone, and it's someone I dearly love, and don't worry, it's not you, Mom. But in that process, I could find myself being, oh, wow, I'm being reactive and I'm responding with that same kind of energy. And it's, as you know, I'm a believer in sovereignty, and they're telling me what I should be doing with my body. And it's like, oh, that is not your decision to make. It is my decision. But as I was recognizing I was speaking my truth and standing in my truth, I was realizing they're operating from a place of fear, and that their energy they're spewing it felt gross. It felt negative. It felt very judgy, very ungodly, I would say, right? It wasn't very much love and light. And when I was starting to recognize it, like, wow, I'm being reactive. That's interesting. Why am I doing that? And they're coming from a place that's like, oh my gosh. And then I literally was able to, in the middle of that conversation, to shift to this compassion. Like, wow, I can see that they're in a place of fear and they're in a place of scaredness, that they're doing what they think is coming from love. But I have to, and I literally was saying a prayer like, wow, God, forgive them, because they don't know that they're actually spewing this negative energy out, right?
But when you're asking them for God, forgive them, you're still judging them.
It felt very different. It didn't feel like judgment. It felt like I was honoring the place. It's like when Jesus was on the cross, and there's something about they don't know any better, that they don't realize that they're putting this hatred into the world. They don't understand that this energy, it wasn't from judgment. It was literally from this place of like, oh my gosh, I have so much compassion. And it was like a deeper state of love, but it wasn't judgment. It was this like, wow, if they really understood what they were doing, but they don't, and they don't see it, and that's okay. It didn't feel like judgment at all. It was a place of calm and peace, and realizing that we're all doing what we can in these wild times, and everybody responds differently, but to be able to hold that compassion was very like, wow.
Well, again, if you look at Facebook for any length of time, there's someone who's ridiculing, judging, whatever, all the time, and you just have to love them. In fact, I got an email yesterday from a friend of mine in Florida who was commenting about someone who comments a lot of negativity about things I post, and I said, I didn't even notice. And she's all worked up about it in Florida, and it's like, I didn't even notice, because I just send all the people who respond love and light, to whether they're positive or negative. I don't care. They just get a dose of love and light. But she is in Florida, all upset because of what someone has said to me. which is kind of funny.
Well, that kind of happened with my father-in-law. I was actually talking about something that we had discussed that week in this conversation. And I was actually speaking to my mother-in-law, but he was sitting there and he got really upset with me and was yelling at me and telling me to stop. And so I just let him go. And I realized at the time that I remember that feeling when that core belief was shook, and it's not a good feeling, but I remember that. So I just was like, oh, I felt really bad that I put him in that position where I know, but it's a terrible feeling because
No, how he accept what you have to recognize is if you're speaking truth, you have to honor your truth and make no apologies for it. And don't feel bad because someone else gets triggered by it, because that's part of their lessons. I've told you about the mustard lady who was at a workshop I was doing, and I said something that really honked her off. I mean, it honked her off so bad that she has an eruption at the workshop and leaves, very not quietly in the workshop. And people are going, oh, how could you have done that? And I said, I just spoke the truth. She's the one that chose to have a real strong reaction. It was years later, she calls me and she goes, I have to apologize to you. She says, I have been angry at you since ever that meeting. I have cussed you. I have just done all kinds of things since that workshop. And she says, I finally got it. I understand what you were saying. And it's taken me a while, but I finally got it. And so that emotional gunk that he's dealing with may be what helps break him open. So don't apologize for it. How someone receives the truth is not your business. You have to just speak your truth, live your truth, and make no apologies for truth ever. And don't try to distort the truth to make it easier for them to get, because then you'll stop being a messenger. You have to speak your truth with honesty and integrity. And whatever happens as it's received, not your business. And so the fact that he's still churning it means he's still growing from it. And you have to celebrate that. Send them light and love, but do not try to make it easier. But you can offer throw an hors d'oeuvre and say, well, if you ever want to talk about it, please, let me know. And he may, in hearing himself rant and rave, he could get whatever it is that he's not getting now. But how he gets the information, not your business. So stop trying to own it.
It also could be training for you to be able to stand in your truth with more neutrality of it doesn't matter how they take it. It doesn't, right? That's sometimes assumptions or expectations and how people should receive what you're saying. But if you really are coming from a place of love and speaking your truth, maybe this is you're holding the line. You're just getting a little bit prepped from family, because sometimes the family is a little bit easier for you or more challenging or more intense for your lesson.
Not easier. May I share something with you, Rebecca?
Sure.
Okay. Well, as you know, you have a whole lot of persecution complexes. It's hard for you to say things or do things for fear of how people are going to receive it. That goes back to a lot of past life experiences where you've had your head chopped off or burned at the stake and that kind of stuff. So we've learned to keep our head down and low and not upset anybody. But that was then. This is now. And you have to be able to, again, speak your truth. And I can tell you there's been lots of times where I've been told to say or do things from my spirit friends. And I go, oh no, do I have to? Isn't there another way? Oh, please. Now, all that's going on inside my head. I'm not, expressing that, but you can be sure it's going on inside my head. But I know in the end, I have to do it and say it just exactly the way I got it. And I can tell you, some of you've seen it happen, where I piss people off. And some of them leave and don't come back. That's their business. It's not my job. My job, I work for the universe. I deliver the messages the universe has me deliver, and I do it with as much truth and integrity as I can. And if people get upset and go away, that's their right. But I have to be honest.
Yes. And I think in that too, we're human. Mom and I are a perfect example. We're not shiny, happy people 24/7 with each other. We can express, we can feel, we can things, but doesn't mean we necessarily have to hold that other. So Lucas just joined. Lucas, if you want to come in and ask a question, I know you were on IG with us.
Hello, yeah, I've been listening.
Yeah.
I've been a little busy, but the last leg of the conversation made me want to join in and share a couple things, just
All
to
right.
sort of tighten it all up together.
All
I
right.
think.
Okay, let me respond to this question that I got in the chat, and then I'll come back and let you add your 2 cents. Just when do you know when you have to apologize? One, you can apologize at any point in time. It depends on what you're apologizing. For instance, what Rebecca said upset her father-in-law, and she can honestly say, it was not my intention to upset you. You know, if there's anything I do, let me know. So she can apologize for how he received it because it wasn't her intention. Or she may, if she said something inaccurate or said something to deliberately hurt someone, you can apologize for that. So whatever your truth is, also in your apology. And if you know, I never apologized to my mustard lady. I never said I was sorry because I wasn't. I wasn't sorry that she got upset. I knew that was part of her journey. So, and she stormed out of the meeting too fast for me to bring it to her attention. So you have to look to see what's appropriate for the apology. If you've done something to hurt someone, if you've done something dishonest or out of integrity or whatever, then you need to make amends. The 12-step program is very, very powerful in that there is I think step 5 that says you have to make amends and do what you can do to make up for it. But if you're living in your truth, you're acting in truth, and that was part of your truth, then you have nothing to apologize for. So I hope that helps. Now, Lucas, if you want to add your 2 cents.
Hello. I just
Hi.
wanted to say that in my experience lately, and especially about this intense energy that we're talking about, it's been happening the most minute details of all of the stuff that I thought I'd worked on. And in the sense of, say, if it's conflict, I could be trying to avoid conflict. The conflict still shows. If it's clarity in conversation, I could still attempt the clarity, but it doesn't show. And I have found that this is the way of clearing that karma, for lack of a better term, is something precious that we take on so we could study it. And so, like the cab driver, aha, here we go, at any experience that's presented, has been a great way to navigate it for me. Because I find that it's not so much about liking or not liking the experience or liking or not liking the other person. It's finding a way to do whatever is happening with joy. So that even if you don't like something, you get to start understanding this precious experience that you now hold. And that's just really, I've been really focused on that, and the conversation went there. So I wanted to share.
Thank you. I've talked many times about what I call the sacred spiral. That as we go through our journey, we travel. We saw that. We travel this spiral. Some people say it's a circle. We come back to where we are, but we don't come back to it the way we were. We come back at a higher level. It gives us another chance to respond to that situation. So maybe the first time we had a conflict with that person, we were seething on the inside. Maybe we held our tongue and we didn't say it, but we felt it. We were very upset. But the next time we come back to it, like Stacy said, I recognize that they're in this terrible place and I can have compassion for them. The next time we come back to that experience, I may at a place where I can just laugh at it, and not in a belittling way, but seeing the humor in the situation, and I can just love them automatically. So we're always going to revisit some of these milestones in our life, but we do it from a different perspective so we can see our own growth. Remember, we're here to have these experiences, but if there's not some way to check our own papers, we can't tell how we're doing. So we have a revisiting. You mentioned conflict, and I call it compassionate conflicts. Conflicts are nothing to be avoided. Conflicts are nothing. Um, I had someone in the house who was here during a conflicting moment. And his eyes got really big, and you could tell he was just in a panic, and he ran out of the house because he couldn't handle conflict. But conflict is a very important thing to work out differences. When you do it from compassion, from an understanding, it's a softer, more gentle conflict. But when I say, you've heard me, the Stacy, in several times, because she's at a different level of development than I am, and she has a different level of experiences and training. So we don't always agree, even spiritually, on some of this stuff. And when we're disagreeing, I don't try and run away and say, oh, no, we'll just pretend everything's fine, because that wouldn't be fair to you. I point out my truth, she's pointed out her truth, and it leaves all of you to find your own truth. And that's really important. So when there's a conflict, it's really important that you stay in your place of truth, and you do it with love. You don't do it with hate or violence or whatever. But I literally teach, there's a communication class I used to teach at University of Chicago, was communication, collaboration, and conflict. And it was literally teaching people how to do healthy conflict, because so many people don't understand how to do it. And yet it's such an important part of the communication process to disagree and not be disagreeable. There's a huge difference. And so if you're one of those people who avoids or hates conflict, get over it. Just get over it. You need to learn how to do it. And we'll have to do a class in that at some point.
Well, I actually told both of my boys that when they get to be around 15 or 16 years old, I really want them to join some kind of a committee, whether it's with school or with our church or with whatever, a club, because I was involved with our church at a young age, and I, like around 18, 19, and getting in fights with adult people, and they were not going to have it my way at all. That was probably the best experience, because I lived a lot of life in a little bit of time by having to deal with all sorts of people who were not like-minded. So I learned how to pick my battles, and I learned when to stand up and fight for what I wanted, when I wanted it. And I think that's really important, especially when you are working with a lot of people that you don't necessarily get along with.
And you don't need to throw them out to the wolves by joining a church group. I mean, as a coincidence, this past week, I watched a couple YouTube clips on people having knockdown dragouts in church because they disagree with what's going on. But you can, if this happens, how would you handle it? And you can give them scenarios to role play conflicts. So when they meet a conflict, they know how to handle it. I own childcare centers for 20 years, and I had what I called the chairs. So when kids were fighting, they would have to go and sit in the chair, and it depends on how many kids were involved. And so then when they sit in the chair, each one would share and talk, and I would guide them through the process. And what I was effectively doing is teaching them how to have conflict in a healthy way. And so after a while, they didn't need me to intervene for them. I'd hear them say, let's go get a chair. and these are 3 and 4-year-olds who are getting the chair, and they play the game, do the rules, and they work out their differences without hammering each other with a block. And that's what we have to teach. In fact, I love this story. But Matthew was a 4-year-old, and his mother came in one morning and said, I have to share with what Matthew did last night. And she said, I know he learned it here. And in my head, I'm going, oh shit, what is this going to be? Because that was usually not a terrific sign. She said, last night Matthew did something, and so I swat his butt. And she said he stopped, took her face, and said, Mom, we don't hit to solve problems. We use words. And she was so shocked. She says, such wisdom coming out of this little kid. And she says, I know he learned it here. And I was very proud that he had learned it there, that you don't have to use volume. You don't have to use cuss words. You don't have to use violence to have a conflict. You can do it in a healthy way with words. And yet some people are still not quite there yet.
Yeah.
At a country level, we use guns and bullets and bombs, and that's the ultimate of not healthy.
No.
So, but start preparing them for these church conflicts because they can be the ugliest.
Well, we don't really go to church anymore, but it was just like that at the time when I went through it. It was so hard, but now looking back, it was life lessons I got out of a lot of those people, where now
Yes.
I gained a lot of understanding because there were a lot of different generations I was dealing with. It wasn't like people my age, that saw the world as I did. It was a lot of different cultures. And so it was just good. It was not good,
And
but it was good.
And that's true for different cultures and for genders and for different occupations, because anytime the power is unequal, people don't know how to handle that. And so, it's why a lot of women acquiesce to a man. I've been members of organizations that have 50,000 members, 4 are men, and those 4 end up being the officers. It's like, wait a minute, why are we doing this? And so, there's all kinds of ways of learning those lessons, and you can even learn them vicariously by looking at the TV and going, hey, what would you have done in that situation? How would you have handled that? Because much of TV, the dramas on these movies and stuff are based on dysfunction. Functional people aren't fun. There's no drama, there's no challenge. So they do the dysfunctional stuff. So you can help them identify and work through that in a very healthy way.
Yeah, they definitely don't show speaking your truth very well. There's a show that's like so preventable because if you just spoke your truth, but then there's no drama. So it's a lesson. Very powerful lesson too. And I think that if someone's upsetting you, there's always room for growth, room for lessons.
Josie, that question was from Josie. So Josie, do you have any follow-up for that question? And then I'm going to share something else. Wrong button.
I don't know which question, if I had a question.
Well, about when do you know when to apologize?
Oh, yeah.
That was your question.
Yeah, I figured out some things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good. And then another thing is some people call me crazy. When I was, first opening to this greater reality, my family thought I was totally off the charts and would tell me so frequently. And so one of my response, there's a process in psychology and business called a broken record. And I love it. I use it all the time. That's the strategy. It's called broken record. And you just say the same thing over and over again. You don't change it. You don't alter it. It lets you not have to go into any kind of active resistance. You don't have to think. It puts all the onus on the other side to come up with something new to say. And so when my family would say something unflattering to me, I just say, thank you for sharing that. And they would go absolutely crazy. In my mind, what I had to get into in order to really be in my truth in saying that, because you don't want to come across sarcastic or as a liar, but I was truly thankful they shared it to me, is that if they didn't share it with me, they might share it with someone else. They might share it with someone who couldn't help them. And so I really was grateful they had trusted me enough to say it to me, because they're going to say it. But you could just tell it drove them crazy. Thank you for sharing that. So
thank you for sharing that, Heather.
I can remember sitting in my mother's hospital room when she was dying, and my brother just going completely off the. And after he vented, and they were all angry at mother dying, but they couldn't vent to mother, so that I was the one that got all the crap. And so after he had just vented and vented, I said, "Thank you for sharing that." I thought he was going to pick up one of the beds and throw it at me. He was so angry, but he couldn't say anything, because I didn't engage. Another thing that is very powerful in situations like that is whatever, just whatever. It lets you move on the conversation without having a strong opinion or engaging in more prickly conversations, just whatever. And
Great.
on Facebook, I've oftentimes said to people who are just venomously attacking me, and they do, is I love you. It's like, what? I love you. And it's true. So whatever you say, make it something that's authentic to you, that's truth for you, not sarcastically, not viciously, but just in your truth, because you don't want to engage and up the ante, create more aggression or upsetness. I mean,
Okay.
it may make, like in my brother's case, it may make him more angry, but that's not my intention. My intention was just to, calm the storm. It didn't, but it was my intention. So I didn't have to apologize at his reaction to it. That was his choice.
Great. And then another thing I loved was functional people aren't fun. That was funny.
Well, the more functional you are, the more boring you are.
Right.
Because it's people who are still doing all the gossip and doing all the, spinning tires. Someone gets stuck in the mud and they got to tell 47 people they got stuck in the mud. They're still spinning tires. They're creating the drama, telling these stories. That can be interesting and whatever. But someone who's really healthy doesn't spread more of that energy. They don't need to tell the story. They don't need the attention. They don't need all those kinds of things. So they're kind of boring. And the more in the childcare center, I could always tell the healthiest kids because they were the least amount of standout. The really, really high need kids, whether they were behavioral or emotional or whatever, always were trying to clamor for your attention. Teacher, teacher, look at this. Teacher, teacher, come over here. Teacher, teacher. And they were the ones that needed everything. But the healthy kids just went into the sandbox and played in the sand. They didn't need me to give them feedback, to give them emotional support. They were able to self-soothe. They were able to take care of their own needs. They were able to play with others without having intervention. They didn't create the dramas or the fights or whatever. So I could always tell the healthiest kids because they were the most boring and the most in your face. So I made a list of them and literally made a point of talking to them every day. Made a point of talking to every child every day, but with those kids, because they need so little, they usually get less.
Yes.
So I wanted to make sure that they knew that I noticed them and appreciated them every day.
Oh, how I wish you had those centers again.
Well, I've actually thought about doing it again, but it was for them. And literally, they were such teachers for me because I was spiritually told so much about kids and life and stuff through them, and saw so many developmental lessons happening through them. So I'm really grateful that I had that. And Alicia, you all know Alicia Ortiz, who's often on the calls. She's going through her own medical issues right now, so keep her in your prayers. But her daughter was, I first met Alicia because her daughter was in one of my centers.
Oh, wow.
Which is kind of amazing. And then I've met a lot of adults who were in my centers. So it's kind of
cool.
Mafioso put on some of his favorite things for your broken record responses. He goes, well, there you go. And the second one was giddy up. And then he has a laughing, crying face.
Well, too many, and I'm going to say this crudely because it is what people say, but too many broken record responses. Fuck you. It's like, how is that helping the world? Tell me, what is that doing with changing the energy of the planet? But that's their response. So you can see a lot of people use the broken record response without recognizing it, but you can see what their automatic response is.
Or bitch. Those still can be fun.
So just pay attention to what your broken record is, and then create one that you like that serves you and the light, because you are holding the line when you are putting out that energy of positivity and love. Anything else online, Stacy, that anybody wants to say or do?
Not yet.
Nope. Okay. Well, believe it or not, it's 7:50. We've been on the call for almost 2 hours. It just always goes by so fast. And my goal is to keep it to around 2 hours. So anybody else have anything they want to say before we?
Technically, we only went live like an hour and 20 minutes ago. And the nice thing is I haven't been cut off. They've been cutting
Yay.
whatnot, so I'm excited about that.
Well, I don't care about when we went live online. I care about when I went live on this call. And I went live on this call at 6, actually before 6, but I only count it from 6. So for me, we've been on the call for 1 hour and 50 minutes. When other people joined us, it's their business.
Sure. But it's still nice to sing. If you, in privacy reasons, I won't say your name, but if you are on Zoom, you're welcome to unmute if you have any questions, or write them in the box, and you can put anonymous if you don't want your name read. Esme said, someone at work always complains about not getting equally, like every day. It got to the point where I said, if I could help you, I would, but I can't do what you want me to do about it. Yeah.
I think that's a perfect response, but recognize that person who's not seeing herself being treated fairly is coming from a much deeper, older wound than what's created in that office. So just again, send her lots more love. When I was at one university, I had a supervisor, a department chair, who was just the most unhappy woman I've ever met in my life. She seemed like one of those bitter, old, dried up people who should be feeding chickens. That's how I envisioned her, just feeding the chickens. But she was very unhappy about her lot in life, even though she was successful in almost any way. And she, she was, wasn't her favorite person. I rubbed her the wrong way. And so literally I just sent her love every day. I mean, when I would be coming into work, I always had that magic place, and I'd be filling her in her office with love. Well, if you don't choose to use the love that you're getting, it really will make you more at jarring. It's why some of you cause others not to like you, is because your energy is so jarring, because you're so maybe in love and the other person isn't. So the energy isn't compatible. But literally in the middle of the year, she took a job at another university. Because if you don't like that energy, you have to get out of it. And so I sent her love, and just wherever she goes, whatever she does, I wish her well. Very important. But just don't take it personally.
Well, and I do, part of my teaching too is also getting out of that victim mentality. So even that question of this, I know for myself, when I shifted, there's a big shift when I was like, I'm no longer the victim, I am the creator. And I think that we do have that programming conditioning to live in that lesser state, because we are our creator. We have all of this. So we do have a question. I think it's being typed right now.
Well, recognize you are both the creation and the creator. So I don't see a question. So
no, it's coming on. It says question and then return. So yes, and Esme was following up, that she says she tries that every time I go to my break, they want to vent about money, and they do the math on how much they lose for that amount of time or X amount of hours. And she's like, I just try to eat in peace. Give a peace sign. Okay, so
well, first of all, you're being very wise. You might take and have the send the angels into that lunchroom or wherever they gather in the morning, and just generate love in that environment all day long, so that when they walk in there, one, you've got an energy that's compatible with you and your lunch and everybody who's eating. And then also these people who are, again, they get it. The worst thing in this world is not to get attention. The solitary confinement is the most inhumane thing we can do to prisoners. We give them solitary confinement. So recognize even getting bad attention is better than no attention. And so people who have either an extreme need for attention or feel they're not getting their due attention, they're going to do something to get attention. It may be in what we would call an unhealthy way. When the kids were small and I would get on the phone, of course, that's when they would act out because they wanted my attention. I'm on the phone, I'm talking to someone else and they're getting attention. So I literally learned to sit down and be on the phone, and I'd have them in front of me and I'd be stroking their hair or brushing their hair, but I would just be rubbing their head or playing with their head. So that I was giving them attention while I was on the phone. And then once they were grown up, it was like I'd get on the phone, I'd look for a head to rub. There's no head to rub. But it was my way of being able to give them the attention and be able to have a peaceful conversation. But when these people are acting out, whether it's verbally or behaviorally or causing drama, it's their way of saying, notice me, I'm alive, notice me. And just love them. Don't feed their dysfunction, but notice them, give them love.
Okay, so Mafioso's question, can you share a story about how you had an epiphany that made many things from the past suddenly clear beyond any doubt?
I've had so many epiphanies. I could be a epiphany tree with 8,000 epiphany leaves.
While you think what I shared even about the victim of like not choosing to be a victim anymore, and that realizing that everything I chose in my life, I was a part of, I agreed to, I brought in. And so that for me was a huge epiphany that changed the trajectory of my life. And so I started getting into the trauma work through even the Tantra. That was a huge event for me.
Okay, I've got one now. Okay, this is one that comes to mind, so I'll share it just as it comes. When I was running for president, and I spent 10 years of my life of intense effort to become president of this country. And people say, are you kidding me? You're running for president? I said, no, I'm kidding. I really intend to be president. And again, I had God on my side. There was not a doubt in my mind that I would be president. And so when I didn't win, I was like, oh shit, did I disappoint God? Did God fail me? What happens? So it took me a while to work through that stuff. And one day, it just hit me like a ton of bricks. My epiphany was that I went in that experience to change the world. But instead, what happened is I came out of the experience being a changed person. So instead of me changing the world, which is what I anticipated, I was changed in the process. And all the people, all the stories, all the experiences that I had were literally put in a completely different light. And I still feel that way. So I don't know if that meets your criteria, but it was a big one for me.
Yeah. I mean, that was a huge for me as well. And I think if you want to share one that you had, feel free. And I liked Esme put Epiphany 2021 2.0.
I mean, there's not a day that goes by that I'm not having an epiphany. So you kind of have to narrow the topic. So.
Well, and even I had a huge aha when my whole life, you've always said, I'm here to teach people how to be happy in their body. Do you remember that? So my whole life, I'm like, how am I supposed to teach people how to be happy in their body? Like at a hula hoop, dance, like it was. like, how do you teach someone to be happy in your body? I'm like, whatever. So it took me years and years and years. And then I realized like a week or two ago, like, oh my God, that makes sense. Because to me, the trauma, right? And we have, I mean, it can be simple from an argument. It doesn't have to be you were sexually abused or raped or gunpoint or fought in war. It can be being yelled at in classroom at second grade. There's all kinds of ways that we respond. But for me, I found like that makes total sense. Like I'm here to help because I feel I can tell what people are experiencing, feeling, because it's like, it's just this, it's very natural for me. And I think and most healers and those kind of things naturally will get those things as well. We all came in with the different puzzle piece for the same puzzle. And it's not greater or less than, but we're all our unique, beautiful expressions.
And nobody got the box lid.
That's funny. I like that. Only God got the box lid. But I think through that, it really had that huge awareness. Is like, oh my God. So what I do is I love teaching and sharing people how to get the trauma out of the body. And then through Tantra is that reconnecting to the deepest source, the fastest way to enlightenment, but it's through self, it's through inner, it's through feeling and connection. And I'm like, that makes sense. I'm here to teach people to have fun in their body, which is, to me, it's that letting go of the old, but yet bringing in the more love and more divine. And when you are in that, your life literally shifts. And so I had that aha moment, which was pretty nice. It's pretty wild. And then Mafi also said that was profound. Thank you. Thanks for the questions. We love questions. But I think if you want to share too what you felt, if anybody on here has any of those moments too, like, yeah. Okay, so he's sharing a story. He says to hang on a second because he's typing it.
And sometimes you don't get the epiphany till after the experience is over. And so a lot of people are in the middle of their epiphanies now. So not to be, concerned. It'll come when it's come. Like I was telling Josie, she should be writing down all experiences because that will help her be able to integrate those experiences. And when it comes time to sharing that, she will have all the details. When I first came out of the campaign, in the weeks and months following, I wrote my whole book on the campaign. I've never chosen to release it yet, but I'm getting closer. I know that because the world is needing it. And what I was going through then for those experiences, the world is going through now in those experiences. So it'll be interesting when I go back to edit and read that through to be able to see the connections in a much bigger light.
Well, and again, your intention is everything too. So when it's divine timing and when you're ready, like you can start to connect things, and trusting in that. But we are all here for our own reasons. So, and I just want to say, if you're with us right now, thank you so much for being here. And this is like the connection of the soul tribe. And we have at least 5 countries, I think, represented. And it just always is like, oh, it feels so good. All right. This is from a video. I can send you the link later. The guy said how his grandma would always win at Monopoly. Nobody could beat her. And when he was like 16, he learned how to play Monopoly to win. Now we'll get it only lets you do a little bit at a time. So pause while we get the rest.
Okay. Can you read all of it when it's done?
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to just share the whole thing when it's done. I don't do well with cereals. So I want to know it all at the moment. Okay, and Josie, I'm just reading yours. If I knew how to answer it, I would, but I think I want to help depressed people. I think that's honorable, and you may be learning how to do depressed people. Oh, I have another epiphany I just thought of. When I was, late 80s, I went to Sedona, Arizona, and I had all kinds of stuff happening. And so I had one, and I don't get voices or visions. I get knowings. It's like, I know this. And so I had this knowing that I had to break, and I was there with maybe 5 or 6 other people. I knew I had to break away from them and go out and have my own experiences. It was going to be a very powerful day. And so if you've been to Sedona, Boynton Canyon is beautiful, and it's got all kinds of hills and mesas and stuff. And so I said, I'm going to Boynton Canyon by myself. You can't go. And so I go out to the Boynton Canyon and I find this mesa. I climb the mesa, and I know that I'm going to learn what my life is about that day. I know it. I know with every fiber of my being. So I'm go up and I find this hill and I scramble and climb, and I think, okay, I'm going to get a vision, like a vision quest or something, or something's going to happen and lightning's going to strike and I'm going to know. And I sit there in my meditative, reflective place, and pretty soon one of the people from our group climbs the hill, and it's like, oh shit. And he's a real talker, and he's talking and I'm asking questions and stuff. And so I'm answering and talking and thinking, go away. I'm going to have a meaningful experience. And then an hour or so later, he goes away, and I'm getting ready to have my experience. And then someone else comes along, and then someone else comes along. And then a mother who just lost her husband and a son come by, and they're asking me different questions. And each one I have this conversation that's maybe a half hour, 45 minutes away. And I've spent the whole day and I haven't had my experience yet. It's like, what the hell? I want my experience. You guys leave me alone. And I'm sitting up there, and they're talking about medicine wheels and this and that. I mean, there's all kinds of random conversations. And I keep waiting for my meaningful experience. And all of a sudden it dawned on me, that's my mission. That's my purpose in life, is just to explain what's going on to people. It's just about answering their questions and being a part of them. And it was like such a, oh my gosh, that I expected it to be some kind of big ta-da kind of thing. But what I was given was a demonstration of my work in this life. And now it's been, 30 plus years later, and that is my life from right now. We could be sitting on top of a hill in Boynton Canyon, and it would be exactly the same kind of moment. That I had to be there to meet the needs and answer the questions of people, to interpret the spiritual world for people as they move through their own life experiences. So that was a epiphany for me.
And by the way, Mafioso, let me know when this story is done so I can finish reading it. That reminds me of the story of the man who is deserted on the island. I don't know the details, basically. Okay, God help me. And then someone comes with the boat and says, hey, you want to ride? He's like, no, God's got me. I'm waiting for God. And then, then a couple of things that happen by, and
A helicopter comes and an airplane.
and then he dies. He's like, God, I thought you were going to save me. He's like, who do you think sent the boat? Who do you sent this? Like, sometimes perfect example is that what you expect doesn't always come in the way you expect it. And being open to it and being ready. And I think that's where there's those moments. It's like, oh my gosh, it makes sense. Like now I totally have so much appreciation for all those experiences that I've gone through since a baby, from all of those years. Instead of having it be painful now it's like, wow, I got to experience all this just to be able to feel into the other person's and like assist them when they're ready to let it go, when they're ready to move through. It's like, oh my gosh, it's like, how cool is that? Like you wouldn't know unless you got to experience it. And so I think that's a huge, huge shift when you can really be like, wow, like you're grateful for all the stuff that's happened because it's literally made you who you are. And I love that. He hasn't finished typing it, so I will let you know when we're finished.
Okay.
When it's
Thank
done.
you. Laura, you and Nancy have been very quiet. If there's anything you want to share, you're always welcome. You always have such interesting things. We're open.
Thank you. I'm just listening.
I'm okay. Well, it's 8:08, 8:09. So we're going to be closing it up.
By the way, this is drawings. If you're looking at what's on my wrist, I've always been one of those people that likes to draw on my skin. And so they have ink markers that you can actually made for skin. I haven't actually done tattoos. There's a part of me that wants them, and there's a part of me that's like, no, I don't want any tattoos. And there's a part of me that's like, yes. So
Cool. Thank you for sharing that.
it's fun.
Rebecca, you're unmuted.
It's just drawings. Go ahead.
Rebecca, do you want to say something? You unmuted yourself, so I didn't know if there's.
Oh.
No.
I mean, I've had epiphanies too, too many.
Want to share one?
No, there's no such thing as too many epiphanies.
Way too many.
Divinely perfect many.
Well, the biggest one for me probably was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. And I would say it was my youngest son that taught it to me. He was like, I don't know, first grade maybe. And he wanted to, it was like in March, and it had been cold. And then it was a day where it was really going to be warm. He wanted to wear a warm outfit to school. And I told him, no, you can't wear this. You're going to be miserable all day if you wear this. It's too hot outside. Argued with me. And I mean, I won. Overall, I won. Well, I felt terrible because I sent him to school and he was just pissed. So I felt like, oh, great. I ruined his whole day. He's going to go there and just be spreading that around the school. So I was really upset, and I was talking to one of my friends, and she said to me, you probably should have just let him wear what he wanted to, and he would have been miserable. And then he would have come home and, or the next day he would have asked you probably, hey, what should I wear? What's the temperature going to be like? He might not have ever said, like, you were right. I was really too hot in that. But instead I had to fight with them to do it. And it was this big epiphany where it was, they have choices that they get to make too. And there are no bad choices, just choices. And there are natural consequences for poor choices. And since then, I feel like a huge weight was lifted off of me as a parent, where I've let them be more free with what they want to do. And it's like, you can do that if you want, but realize some things may happen that you're not going to enjoy. So it gives them the responsibility. I feel like they're more aware of their choices they're making.
And the most powerful thing you can teach a child is how to make a decision and live with the consequences of that decision, because so many people can't. And in life, that is the one thing we all have to do continuously. We make a decision whether to go right or left, or go up or down, or eat this or that. If you can't make a decision, if you have to second guess yourself, if your confidence has been undermined, or you've been shown bad patterns for making decisions, life is hard.
Yeah. But he taught me that was a big one.
That is a big one.
I thought for me as a parent, I thought being a good parent meant you picked out their clothes that they wore for school and had it ready for them the next day, and you brushed their hair and you brushed their teeth and you washed their face and you made sure they showered and you made them breakfast and you did all these things for them. He fought me tooth and nail every day that he could, until I just gave up and was like, you're right, you should be able to do this. So that was huge.
Probably one of those very defiant children as well.
Yes.
You've heard some stories, but yeah.
Mafio done yet?
Huh? Yes, the story's done. I can read it.
Okay, now go ahead.
All right. So Mafioso's story. I'm gonna start from the beginning. So this guy said how his grandmother would always win a Monopoly and nobody could beat her. And when he was 16, he learned how to play Monopoly to win. And so he finally beat his grandma at Monopoly for the first time in his life. And he expected his grandma would get upset, but she just said, congratulations. And she was about to put everything back into the box. But he said, no, you can't put it all back into the box. I have to show this to everyone. I just beat you at Monopoly. And she said, it's just a game, son. When it's done, it all goes back into the box. And he realized that life is the same way. We spend our lives trying to acquire material possessions, etc. But when we leave it all, it goes back into the box. Done.
Ooh, good one.
That's profound. That sounds like something you should write up and send to Reader's Digest. They give you $400 for those little quips. And that sounds like a Reader's Digest quip, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
And then I got asked about my beautiful bracelets. Are they crystals? And I said yes, and I make them and sell them too. But they're all different stones. I love the gold hematite for some reason, Larimar and lapis and amethyst and shungite. And I live in bracelets, but I didn't put them on this wrist this morning. Nobody gets to take their material possessions, social status, etc. to the higher dimensions. They only exist in the realm, so we shouldn't get attached to them. And by the way, I think that is very true and very beautiful. Yeah.
I'm told, and I assume that it's truth because everything they've been told has been truth. The only thing you take with you is love. So the love that you share, this love that you receive, goes with you.
All you need is love. Bum, ba-dum, ba-dum, bum. All you need is love. Dum, ba-dum, ba-dum, dum.
Okay, if that's the end, then we will call it a night. Feel free to send me any questions or comments you have. It often guides our conversation, so please do that. And we'll be back next Thursday, 6 p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. Pacific, same number. And I love you all. So glad that you spend this time with me. And Stacy, we enjoy your company. We enjoy your comments. And hopefully this goes out into the universe and helps others as well. It is stationed on Stacy's YouTube channel. So if you want to re-listen to any or all of it, you can go there and revisit. They're all there by dates. Some of you who take notes, feel free to send me like a quick summary of what each does, what each segment has, because so we can put that in the descriptions for YouTube. But anyway, anybody have any closing words they want to share?
So I have one question that came on here. I'm kind of curious. Indara is who asked, hopefully I said that name correctly, has been bumping with our cosmic origin story. What do you think about that?
I think we don't have a cosmic origin story. We each individually have one. That my story is going to be very different than Josie's story or Rebecca's story or Stacy's story. That to think that all humanity walk the same path is crazy. I mean, I think that the people who are feeding us, whenever there's a narrative that lots of people agree with, I would question it that much more. Look for your own story and
okay.
Follow that.
I'm going to clarify what she's meaning about, like aliens. So can you maybe, that's in her book. Yes, we're all from different planets and different stuff. Do you want to touch about that real quick?
Well, again, I'm going to say the same thing all over again. We don't all have the same story. My story will be different than everybody else's story. Some people have had lifetimes as different life forms that we would call the aliens, and we've occupied different planets and have different memories from different existences. I have met, not a lot, but a few people who've never had physical form before. They came here as this very naive, sensitive spirit and never had a physical form. So their story is going to be very different than everybody else. I think that it's the mind that wants to understand these things. It doesn't change why we're here now. I think focusing on why we're here now and doing everything we can do to make a difference to fulfill our mission now is most important. If you need to understand that you were part of the angelic realm and you chose to enter as a physical person this go around, you'll be told about it. You'll know it. But again, everybody in this planet, diversity isn't just for a physical body. It isn't just for our fingerprints, our hair, or snowflakes. Every aspect of our lives, our thoughts, our behaviors, our attitudes is as diverse as anything else on this planet.
And I will say, going into that too, sometimes there is, like someone put on there that they're connected to the Pleiades and they're very connected deeply. I don't think it's always necessarily about your head. I do believe sometimes there's a part of your heart, because you're not, okay, so my truth, quick summarize, we're all higher dimensional beings that dropped into this form and of existence. The higher dimensional can be lots of things. I think that when and if you truly want to know, I mean, Mom does privates, and I'm sure lots of people do privates that you can tap in and kind of, but also what she's saying, look at that. Is it something that's deep within you? Is it calling? But you can ask and put intentions out there. Whatever I'm supposed to remember, let me. When I was reading the Money We're Called book for the first time, some of my memories that I had came up, and it was like, oh, I can remember similar to this color, but not quite this color, being just that light ball of energy. And I remember putting on a human body form, like a zip, when other humans wouldn't be able to see my energy form. That makes sense. And so sometimes when you are open and when you're ready, you'll have more memories coming into, you'll have more things. Sometimes we're meant to remember, sometimes we aren't. And you have to also, I believe, go into that trust of being connected. And if you're supposed to know, you will. Not having the expectations, I need to know, right? But just knowing that if I'm ready to know who I truly am, put it in your dreams, ask your guides if it's for the best and highest good of all concerned. Mafioso, feel free to put that with me too. So anyways, so I'm reading the comments.
Or share them.
Okay. So it starts with, she was asking like about aliens, and it was like, yes, and like Orions, Lyrians, etc. And I said, okay, yes. And then that's when Sammy said, I'm convinced that Pleiades and I are connected deeply. And I said, she said, noted, thank you. And then Mafioso said at her, Orion came up for you, is what he felt. I wasn't trying to get an answer for you, but just came up spontaneously. And she says, there's a shopping center next to my office named Orion, with a smiley face. And he goes, you're looking for a ride home, ? With the laughing face. And that kind of just gave me a little bit tears too, is sometimes things are guided to you. That's like, wow, like there's my favorite star in the sky that I'm always been drawn to. And then when I put my little app, it's always the same app. I have Isis Oracle cards that literally I would get this same card over and over again for a very long time. And it was Syrian. But again, it's sometimes we're meant to know, sometimes we aren't. But yes, I think like what Mom says, we're all here to shift the consciousness. We've all come to a calling. I think that there's a deep part of our soul that does know that we're connected to something bigger and greater. So I do feel that part of that longing is literally to reconnect ourselves with our true, like, poof.
Well, I would equate it to someone who's been adopted. Even people who don't know they're adopted will often feel like there's a part of their life missing, that they have to fill in the blank with something that they don't know why or don't know what. And so we can have those longings, those awarenesses, and by all means follow it, recognize it. But to say that we all have the same story, the same heritage because we share a physical body, I don't think is accurate. I think we just need to trust. For me, there was a period where I wanted to know all of the answers. I wanted to know what, when, where, why, and so on. And that was my mind working. Once I stilled my mind, once I got my mind quiet, those things were important. They literally just wasn't important. There was a time where I'd be invited to workshops and given free tickets because I had such great questions and they wanted me to sort of see the audience with my great questions. But there came a time where I had no questions. It just doesn't matter. I don't care. And so the same thing, you just have to trust whatever you're going through. If you feel like you need to find the answers, put it out there. Tell the universe you want answers. The universe has to give you whatever you ask for. It's the law. But if you don't need the answers, don't just trust what someone else is telling you is the answers. Always do your own discernment, do your own investigation.
And reading your book literally did have a lot of visual stuff that came up for me that I'm like, oh, I understood those flashbacks now. I understood what did the conclave, the calling, when we were all mixed beings. Okay, so I was requested to pull a card. So the card I got is Divine Sisterhood. And it's a community of spiritual sisters and brothers of the light. So real quick, and then the bottom of the deck is Spirit of Isis, Triumphant of Goddess. So in community that is based in equality, respect, healthy boundaries, and personal freedom, with a mutual desire for spiritual growth and honoring of innate wisdom, great miracles occur. You are part of the community of light. At one time, it existed only in the spiritual worlds, yet now it is being born on the earth. It is a part of your destiny to help create and nurture a conscious community that empowers all of its members and based in truth. Very much sums up our conversation for this evening. And the Spirit of Isis, love her. I found this crystal actually when we were walking in the Isis temple a couple trips ago, and I just wanted to go get a thing. I squatted over the earth. I really deep down connected, and I literally opened my eyes and I was looking at the crystal looking at me, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's for me. And it happened to be in the birthing chamber, which is kind of fun too. All right, so real quick, we'll read her little paragraph of Spirit of Isis. And by the way, for those of you that are new to this deck, this is the first Oracle cards I guess I've ever bought. And a friend in Egypt, Trip, brought them, and it just made me cry the first time I read them. Spirit of Isis, page 161. And Triumph of the Goddess. Beloved initiate, there are times to surrender and let go, but there are never times to give up. This is the hold the line. Persist with your bold faith and inspired action until the impossible happens. Isis has the spirit of triumph and will never fail in her quest, no matter how bold or impossible it seems. Believe.
Okay. And with that, we're going to wrap it up. I appreciate all of you coming tonight. Please keep us in your prayers as we continue the transformation here in my house, in my home, and then on the planet, and then each of you. You're all going through transformations of one form or another. And so we keep you in the light, we keep you in the love, and are so appreciative that you have chosen to join us on Thursdays. Everything that I want to go to is always scheduled on Thursdays. It's like, must be very popular. So again, I know that there's always lots of choices, and I'm so grateful that you have chosen to be with us. If there's anything here that you think would be helpful to anybody else, please send them to Stacy's YouTube channel, and you can always listen to the replay. Lots of love, lots of light. Have a wonderful week. September is going to be a humdinger. So just anchor yourself to the light and you will have no problem whatsoever. Don't focus on what is uncomfortable. Focus on what is light.
And with that being said, the comments were beautiful. Just what I need to hear. This is beautiful. And lots of hearts and thank you. So thank you. You are not alone. We are in this together. Please feel free, if you're on YouTube, my name is Stacy Harder. If you're not on YouTube, feel free to like, subscribe, and share, and join us if you'd like to join us live on the Zoom meetings. Mom's a teacher, always been a teacher, as you notice. Her first classroom was at 5 years old, and she likes faces and interacting and that enough. So you don't have to show your face, but it's always kind of fun to connect. And thank you so much. Hold the line. Know you are love and light, that everything is a gift and everything is a teacher. You got this. We'll be here every Thursday. And thank you for waking up to see this and to go through that collective consciousness together, because we are here to shift humanity. I love you. Thank you. And much bliss and blessings.
Okay. Love you all.
Love you.